Welcome back to the All We Do Is Talk podcast. We got your week 4 predictions coming up. Get your notes taken down. Get your gambling site set up and ready to go. We're going to try to make you guys some money this week. You want to start it off with...
So I guess we'll start with our local game.
Sad.
Washington versus Atlanta.
We have to watch it on TV. Fox, I hate you guys. Do something about local games, please. All right, so we got
Atlanta is a 1.5 point dog for the line we're going off of, and the over under is 47.5.
For me, I think when you have two teams that you can't really trust when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons and the Washington football team, you go with the better quarterback. And not only do you go with the quarterback who's a home dog, the better quarterback being an underdog at home against a team that hasn't really played up to what we thought their talent would be. I'm going to take Atlanta plus 1.5, and I'm going to take the under.
I actually agree. Now, I will say if Washington's defensive line has that breakout game, that's the only way I can see Washington winning this game, because I do believe Matt Ryan's the better quarterback. So I got Atlanta covering. My final score projection is Atlanta to win 20-19. Close garbage time game. Close game between garbage teams. Probably death by field goal. So Atlanta 1.5, and I'll also take the under.
All right.
Moving on next to Detroit, Chicago, another bad NFC match. NFC match between not lesser.
It's a bad NFC
matchup. I'm trying to be nice to these guys.
But all right.
Chicago is a 3.5 point favorite with an over under of 41.5.
This is my lock of the week. Put it down. I know I missed it last week, but I'm here again this week to try to give y'all another chance at it. Detroit over the Chicago Bears tonight. We know Justin Fields will be starting on Sunday, and I have no belief in Matt Nagy to use him the way he needs to be used. None whatsoever. So I'm going to take Detroit. I'm going to take plus 130, the money line, because that is how confident I am in Detroit getting the job done today, and I'll take the under.
I also agree. I don't think Matt Nagy is a good coach. I think we're all seeing that for sure. I believe with the theory we were talking about earlier, he will lose his game to Detroit, and then he will lose his job tomorrow morning, probably.
Boom, boom. Thank you for reminding me, because I totally forgot about that point I made.
And I will also take another tight game, 21-20 Detroit. So I got the Detroit covering, and I got the under as well. So we got 2 for 2 for those first two games. All right, next we got an AFC matchup that should be exciting to watch, but won't because of injuries. We've got the Tennessee Titans headed to MetLife to take on the New York Jets.
So, as we know going in, no A.J. Brown, no Julio.
They were early.
Been ruled out, which spells concern about what Tennessee's going to have to deal with going forward. You said this game's in MetLife. The Jets, we know the Jets got their minor injuries. Carl Lawson's been out for the year. Marcus May, their franchise tag safety, he on Tuesday got hurt in practice, and he's going to be out for the next month. That's gigantic for them as well.
Bud Dupree is still out. Caleb Farley is out.
This is a shoulder, not a back, but yeah.
But they're not playing today. Elijah Moore is out, so
it's a lot of rough injuries for the. It's hard. It's a lot of rough injuries for both of these sides. The Jets, who are over the years, and then now with Robert Saleh, have been decent against the run. So that is why I will take the Jets to cover the 6-point line. New York Jets plus 6 doesn't necessarily mean they'll win the game, or if it'll even be that close. But I think the Jets will find a way at the end of the game to have the scoreboard be within 6 points. I can give you no other argument than that. The Tennessee Titans secondary is pretty abysmal, and without their 2 receivers, I think it'll be hard for Tennessee to just run away with this game scoring, even though I expect Derrick Henry to be Derrick Henry. So I'll take the Jets plus 6, and I'll, for the third straight game, take the under.
I agree on the under, but other than that, you crazy. There's no way the Jets are going to even be competitive in this game. But like I said, I agree. It won't be a shootout or a stomping. It'll be Tennessee just overmatching the Jets, and the Jets not doing anything because they haven't scored a touchdown in 3 weeks.
So like 2010.
So I've got the Tennessee Titans winning 24-6. So I've got Tennessee covering, and I will go with the under as well. Nothing much more there. So next we got the inner conference matchup, a nice matchup between Cleveland at Mini. And
they carry Stefanski Bowl.
Yeah, a lot of returns this week. This might be the biggest one. So Minnesota's favored 2.5 points over under 51.5.
I think Minnesota's the dog, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Minnesota's a dog. My bad.
Another home dog for in this game. This is a little bit different than the earlier one we had with Atlanta. Because I think Cleveland's actually no, it's about the same. The more talented teams coming into the house, but the home team who I think has the better quarterback is the underdog. And I will that same logic and get for the first game we called. I'm gonna do it again here. I'll take Minnesota at plus 2.5 at home. Kirk Cousins is playing the best football of his career versus a Cleveland defense that has been struggling for the most part. Dalvin Cook is expected to play today as well. I think that'll provide a big boost. And with the Cleveland injuries they're dealing with in their receiving core, this Minnesota will be able to make this game a lot more competitive than I think people would think going in. So I'll take Minnesota plus 2.5, and I'll take the over.
Okay. My theory behind this one is the quarterback play is close. Both guys are playing in the same system, surprisingly as well. I will say, though, I think Cleveland has better talent on defense, and I think they have better talent on their offensive line. So I think we'll still get a really good game, but I'm going to go with Cleveland covering. I'll have Cleveland winning by a field goal, 24-21, and that means I'll be taking the under as well. So I'll take Cleveland.
I took the over. Okay.
I got Cleveland minus 2.5, and I took the under. Moving on to another AFC matchup between some teams that are also going through some injuries. We have the Indianapolis Colts, who are looking like the Tennessee Titans this weekend.
They're the all-injured team this year. That's what it looks like it is for the Colts.
And they're heading to South Beach, so at least they get a nice trip for the guys who are making the trip. And they are a 2.5-point dog with an over-under set at 41.5. So how do you feel about this game?
Ugly. This game is going to be pretty ugly. This is going to be the ugly. I think of all the games on the slate, this will have the ugliest ending scoreboard of all of them. As we know, the Colts' best player, Quentin Nelson, is out
with a second massive injury this year.
Yeah, it's been rough for them. We know Carson Wentz is playing on the two bad ankles. They got injuries on the defense as well. Miami, we know, is missing Tua. So Jacoby Brissett will be starting. But I think outside of Tua, most of the rest of their roster is pretty good and ready to go. So in that case, I'll take Miami minus 1.5 in a battle of two really, really struggling football teams in this moment. But I think Miami's defense will be able to combat the Colts passing game, and then they'll be able to just load it up and try to slow down Jonathan Taylor the best way they can. And the Colts defense has not been what it was last year. I think they'll give up enough plays for Miami to squeak out a close one. So I'll take Miami minus 1.5, and I'll take the under.
So I've got it here. Mine's is at 2.5, but I'll also take. I agree that Miami just has less major injuries, so they still got their defense. The key defenders, Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, who are probably the best two players in the whole game available today. So they still got their top guys playing. Their quarterback drop off isn't as bad as the drop off you're gonna have between Quentin Nelson and the guy behind him. So I think it'll be a boring game. So I've got Miami winning 24-16. So I got Miami covering, and I'll take the under. Moving on. So we got an NFC showdown between the Carolina Panthers headed to Dallas, Jerry World, to face your Dallas Cowboys. How you feeling?
The matchup of division leaders. So far, through the first 3 weeks of the season, Sam Darnold, who looks like a different quarterback. Not really. He looks about the same, just got better talent around him. In Carolina, we know Carolina suffered two massive injuries last Thursday as they topped off their 3-0 start. They lost McCaffrey, they lost J.C. Horn. But they're going to get A.J. Boye back this week from suspension, and they're also traded for C.J. Henderson, who's expected to be active today. For Dallas, we know Dallas had no new injuries from their game last week, but they are still missing a myriad of guys in Gallup and Collins and Tank and a few guys in their front seven. So it's a matchup between two teams dealing with some pretty decent injuries on both sides of the ball. But overall, I think the Cowboys' injuries are more easy to overcome just because of the quarterback that they have versus Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold will have a lot harder time adjusting without C-Mac. So I'll take the Cowboys to cover minus 4.5. I think that I do respect the Carolina's defense, and I respect Phil Snow. Their defensive coverages are really good. They do a lot of good job with simulating pressure, not necessarily always blitzing. But I think in this matchup against the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, who's really good against the blitz, and them missing J.C. Horn is going to make it a lot harder for them to just cover one-on-one like they want to. If they have to change what their defensive scheme is and do things differently, I think it makes it a lot harder for them to win. So I'll take the Cowboys minus 4.5, and I'll take the under.
You taking the under?
I'll take the under.
I think that what the biggest thing that's the factor for this game is that Christian McCaffrey and J.C. Horn, two top 10 players, one being the best player on Carolina is out, one being a corner, which makes their secondary really good when they have a good set of corners, and they were getting back A.J. Boye today.
Now you're asking A.J. Boye to be a second corner, which is not ideal.
Yeah. So I will say I still think there's some cracks in the Dallas defense where I think guys like DJ Moore, and I expect Robbie Anderson to have a breakout game, kind of like to that breakout game he had against y'all with the Jets a few years back, and I expect Sam Darnold to play really good against Dallas as well. The biggest matchup I will be looking for is where Trayvon Diggs is lining up to see how the Panthers interact with that, because if he's lining up on DJ Moore, that big game could be really big for Robbie Anderson. If he's shadowing Robbie Anderson and they're doubling DJ Moore, we'll see how DJ Moore eats and see what type of tier receiver he really is if he has to get out of a double team situation. And in the trenches, like you said, Carolina has a good exotic front scheme, and Dallas has a good offensive line. So we'll see how they coach mismatches there and who wins the most. But I do think Dallas is the better team. They're the more healthier team. They're the better team in general. And they have the better quarterback and the better offensive line. I do think Carolina has a leaky offensive line. It's hit or miss. So I'll also go with Dallas covering the 4.5. But I'll go with the over. Final score, Dallas 35, Carolina 28. The best game probably of the 1 o'clock window probably.
All right.
Moving on to my pain. The New York Giants will be traveling to New Orleans to face the New Orleans Saints in the first game back at the Superdome. So we're being fed to a fervent fan base who will be jumping, and they will be lit as hell in that building. So the Giants are only a 7-point underdog on the road at New Orleans, but the over-under is one of the lowest of the weeks, which is a consistent thing with the Giants, 41.5. So my key matchups are how the Giants' offensive line, who have, in my opinion, overachieved, will be against a formidable Saints front seven, because if they can move the ball, the only way the Giants can possibly win this game is if they are able to control the line of scrimmage and open up some run holes, because their run blocking has been terrible, and keep protecting the quarterback as well. They have Daniel Jones can't have any turnovers, but on the opposite side, neither can Jameis Winston. So it'll be interesting to see two quarterbacks that have the same type of problem, have shown lots of flashes, but just tend to turn the ball over a little bit too much. Will do. Hopefully we get bad Jameis instead of good Jameis, but I expect the fan base and the fans being back in the building to be big for that team. So I don't think the Giants will win this game. So I got the Giants covering though, and I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take death by field goal. Giants lose 24-21.
I don't think these teams are a touchdown spread different from each other, because the Saints aren't going to be relying on their passing game, and that's going to be the strength of the Giants' defense, is their pass defense. But on the other side, I think I think you said the key is the Giants' offensive line versus the Saints' defensive front. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the Saints' offense versus you guys' defense, and how they are able to attack that will determine the outcome of this game, because I think the Giants, we know they've built their team to be strong in the back end, strong in the secondary. They do have a $20 million man and a first round pick up front, but they have struggled a little bit to slow down some run offenses, and the Saints have Alvin Kamara. The Giants are Blake Martinez tearing his ACL is going to make it a lot harder. He's not going to be covering Alvin Kamara at the backfield anyway, but that brings a backup linebacker on the field. That can be exploited by Sean Payton. I like the Saints -7 here, because I think at home with New Orleans rocking as loud as they're going to be, and the Giants struggling with injuries, Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard will not play the game, and those are
surprisingly John Ross
will be active. We got John Ross is hit or miss. He could have an 80-yard touchdown, or he could have one catch for 0 yards. We don't know. But I think overall with the Slayton. Those are two of Daniel Jones' favorite targets, Slayton and Shepard. Those are the guys he throws the ball to the most. So it'll be interesting to see how Kenny Galladay gets back involved, especially with Marshawn Lattimore guarding him as well. I think this will be an ugly defensive slugfest, even though I picked the Saints to cover because I respect these two defenses more than I respect their offenses. So I'll take the Saints -7, but I'll take the under.
Okay, moving on. I think we have a couple more 1 o'clock games. I think the next one is Kansas City. Andy Reid returning to Philadelphia. Because when we started watching football, Andy Reid was
an Eagle.
He was an Eagle.
He's still an Eagle to me, honestly, even though he won a Super Bowl at KC.
Nah, it's him and Mahomes forever now. Heart emojis. So Kansas City headed to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is only a 7-point dog. They are at home, but that's not that bad against a team the caliber of Kansas City. Haven't been playing that good, but that says something about how Vegas feels about Kansas City. Over under set at 54.5. 54.5. So, how do you feel about this game?
Especially people are going to at some point people are going to understand that playing in Philly is hard. I don't care what your team is. Walking into Philly does not lead to high-scoring football games. Overall, obviously, Kansas City should be the 7-point favorite. They probably should be bigger after what Philly showed on Monday night. They did not look good on either side of the ball. But Philly's a different team at home. I expect Jalen Hurts to be more comfortable at home against the Kansas City defense that has not shown up really at any point this season to really get consistent stops. But this is also the worst offense by far Kansas City's defense has played. So you got to match those things back and forth too. But the real fun matchup is the Philly defense, that too high safety, that quarters coverage against Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes, who still, for the most part, looked like Pat Mahomes, but in the fourth quarters, he struggled with some poor decision making and his forcing balls that have caused turnovers that have cost his team a couple of football games. I don't expect the game to be close enough here for that to happen. So I'm going to take KC -7. But I think Philadelphia's defense will step up at home and get a couple of stops on the Chiefs because the Chiefs defense, if you double team Tyreek Hill, you can slow down that Chiefs defense. You still expect Travis Kelce to do his thing. I don't think the Chiefs will be able to run the ball at all. I think they'll be completely relying on Patrick Mahomes' arm, and maybe that could force a turnover or two. I'll take KC -7, but I think I'll take the under just because games in Philly tend to be ugly.
I agree. Patrick Mahomes versus the Eagles defense. That's the thing to look out for. Is the Eagles defense legit? With Brandon Graham suffering a season-ending injury, I think it's tough to really know where they could have been. Mm-hmm. But we'll see how good they are now because this is a formidable opponent. And it's gonna be interesting to see all the NFC East teams versus teams like Kansas City versus like the Chargers. But I just don't see Philadelphia staying competitive. I think they're gonna be in the same type of game they were in last week with Dallas. They're going to be overmatched because the other team has the elite offense and Philadelphia has rookie head coach, practically a rookie quarterback.
This is 8th start. He's a rookie quarterback
and young receivers. So you think their defense will put up a fight? I got it 35-10 Kansas City. Still the under.
That's a fight.
Still the under. Lots of ref help to keep Philadelphia from getting 60 put on them for a second consecutive week, possibly. Moving on to the last game of the 1 o'clock hour. My lock of the week.
It's easy to call.
The slaughter that we get this week at 1 o'clock is another Buffalo Classic. Another team headed to Buffalo. Houston is going to play the role of Washington football team, and they're going to take a trip up to Orchard Park to play the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen and his crew that's picked it up the last few weeks, and they are a 17.5-point favorite.
Houston, I'm going to believe in y'all for this 1 week. Not to win the game. I just want to make that very clear that I'm not believing in Houston to win the game. But
over-under is 47.
17.5 is disrespectful to an NFL football team. And I know at the beginning of the year we were clowning Houston for not really looking like an NFL football team. But so far for the first 3 games of the season, they've looked like an NFL football team. Now, Houston is dealing with some injuries. At quarterback, Tyrod Taylor is. But Davis Mills, you and I both thought Davis Mills looked fine against Carolina last week. And that's a really good defense. I think that defense is better than Buffalo's. But they
ain't played the Jets. Buffalo ain't played the Jets yet, so
they play Washington football team,
which is not the Jets.
And Ben Roethlisberger.
Still not the
That's
Jets.
pretty close.
Still not the Jets.
But you're right. Overall, Houston, I'm going to pick y'all to cover plus 17.5. I don't care how y'all get it done. Y'all can lose the game 34-17. Y'all can lose the game 41-24. It doesn't matter to me. I think Houston will find a way to backdoor cover this one just because the spread is so massive. And Houston has shown that they're going to fight teams all the way through. So I'll take Houston plus 17.5, and I'll take the over.
Whole lot of cap. Houston, you got no chance.
I don't think Houston. I never said Houston had a chance to win the game.
This game screams it'll be over by the end of the first quarter. It's gonna be interesting matchups to watch. No, just enjoy watching the Buffalo Bills run.
Only people in Buffalo are watching.
Run 7-on-7 against a team that you can run 7-on-7 against, and they're gonna run the ball on them too because we know Houston's run defense is a little suspect. So I got Buffalo winning 35-13. Lock it in. I got Buffalo to cover. It's my lock of the week that they cover. I'm that specific, that confident in it that they'll get a job done. It'll be an over because Buffalo will do
Buffalo's going to cover the over by themselves, in my opinion. Like, I think it'll get to that point.
Buffalo will do the heavy lifting and make sure that the over gets hit. Now we're moving on to the 4 o'clock or second half window. So we got Arizona going to SoFi Stadium, host the Super Bowl 56. Don't forget it. 56, correct?
Yes, we're at 56.
And they're going to be facing Matthew Stafford, MVP, who and his LA Rams, and they are a 4.5 point favorite at home. And the over/under is set at 54.5. This should be an exciting NFC West game, which they usually are. How you feel about this one?
The battle for the MVP frontrunner. I think that's really what this comes down to. Matthew Stafford has looked incredibly comfortable in his new offensive system, going up against Kyler Murray, who has been the most eye-popping, spectacular individual football player, I think, of the first 3 weeks of the season. I expect a really, really fun matchup between these two. I think with Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, Matthew Stafford's going to see more pressure in this game than he has seen the entire season as far as pass rush goes. But that's about the only advantage I think the Arizona Cardinals have over the LA Rams. The Rams have been really good against Kyler Murray in his first couple of years in the league. I expect that to continue here. I'm going to take the Rams -4, and I'll take the over.
It's Matthew Stafford and his Sean McVay offense versus Kyle Murray and his run and gun
Air raid. Cliff Kingsbury offense.
Cliff Kingsbury offense. Wow. It's going to be a good game in my opinion because I think the defenses are also underrated, like you said. I think some big matchups are who wins in the trenches. Aaron Donald versus Arizona's front offensive line, and they've got Rodney Hudson now in center, so that should be some good matchups. But they'll probably move Aaron Donald all around the line, as well as we see with J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones. We know Chandler Jones hasn't had a sacks since he's last seen Taylor Lewan.
He already made up for that. But it costs lots of attention, though.
But yeah, he's going to get a lot of attention. But I agree with you. It's going to be one of the better games of the day. And so I'll just go ahead and pick it. I've got the Rams covering. I'll take them to win 28-20 in a very exciting down to the wire game. So that's the under as well. So I think we'll get a nice NFC West game.
All right. So we can move on next
to the other NFC West game, which is Seattle and their 1-2 team headed to San Francisco to take on Kyle Shanahan and the lads in the Bay. San Francisco is always a favorite at home for some reason. They are a 2.5 point favorite, which is wow. They've been a favorite back-to-back week against some really good quarterbacks. And the over-under set high again, 51.5. I'll let you take this one away because you were so good at that Sunday Night Football game last week.
Yeah, I was pretty good in prime time last week. But the NFC West has this weird thing where one team just seems to always be better than the other team. So for the last one we talked about the Rams seemingly always beating the Cardinals. The Seahawks usually always beat the 49ers, and that's what I'm picking here. Seahawks +3 on the road. I don't expect the Russell Wilson-led team to start 1-3. That just seems unfathomable to me. And then I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Seattle's defense is better than what the Green Bay defense was last week because Zadarius Smith being out ruins Green Bay's pass rush. I expect Seattle coming off of 2 pretty rough losses to kind of pick themselves up and give themselves a good shot at winning this game this week. I think this will come down to the wire. Whoever has the ball last, in my opinion. I think it'll be a nice little back and forth. I'll take Seattle +3. I think this will be a high-scoring affair. I'll take the over.
I agree. I don't see Russell like last week. We didn't see Aaron Rodgers losing to a team led by Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care who his play caller is. I don't see Russell Wilson even on the road losing to Jimmy Garoppolo, who he's been pretty healthy, but we know that's Jimmy Garoppolo, and we know San Francisco got some bad injuries elsewhere. So I mean, key matchups. Who's winning in the trenches is always a key matchup here. But can they keep Russell protected? Because if Nick Bosa and the crew are giving Russell Wilson problems, it could be a long day for Seattle, who haven't looked that good. So this might be the last faith that Seattle gets from us, because it's going to be a long sledding from here if they start 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll take Seattle to win, and I'll take the over. I got Seattle winning 31-21. I think it'll be pretty handily won.
Oh wow, okay.
Moving on to another big interconference game, Baltimore and their MVP Lamar Jackson heading over to Denver to see if to find out if Denver's real or fake. So how you feel? Is Denver real or fake?
Denver's real. I don't think we know Teddy Bridgewater is ceiling that it limits their ceiling, but they're good enough to be in contention for the playoffs. I think that's proven. They've made the right decision at the quarterback position. Teddy Bridgewater has looked fantastic, honestly, but we know what the caveat is. The Jets, the Jags, and the Giants. That's the three teams they've played. They've ran through those guys the way they were supposed to, because what chances those teams have against them if we look back on it. So I'll take Denver here at home +1, and I'm doing that because of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson decided to do a front flip in the end zone against Kansas City, and we've heard nothing about injury issues with them ever since. They barely escaped Detroit last week. I think going on the road this week against a Denver defense that's really, really good, especially at home, I think Alexander Johnson and those guys will be able to do a good job containing Lamar Jackson up front, and Denver's going to have the corners to be able to slow down whatever receivers that Baltimore tries to throw the ball to as well. And with the way Baltimore's defense has not looked awesome, they look good against Jared Goff, but overall they struggled on defense as well. I think Denver at home will be able to take care of business. They're only a 1-point favorite, so all they have to do is win the game. So I'll take Denver +1 at home, and I'll take the over as well.
The over as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's tough. I can't pick Teddy Bridgewater over Lamar Jackson. This is that theory we go with, where I'm going to take the quarterback and the points.
If they were in Baltimore, I would have taken them. This is a game about who's at home.
I'll take Baltimore to win this one. It's going to be a good matchup between to see if that Baltimore defense is it a problem. They're going to find out this week, because they might not be able to stop people. They might be missing some corner depth and some pass rushers. So it might be, we'll find out something about Denver, and we'll find out something about Baltimore. We'll find out if that Denver offense is real, because if they can take advantage of a weak Baltimore defense, then they're going to have a good offense. So I'm going to take Baltimore to win 24-21. I just think that and that's the over. I just think that they're got the better quarterback, got the better coach, got the better organization, and that could overcome the fact that they're significant. They're at this moment they're less talented than the Denver Broncos probably. So next we're gonna move on to an unfortunate two old age quarterbacks, two future Hall of Fame quarterbacks battling it out, both on the opposite ends of the spectrum. We've got Pittsburgh headed to Green Bay in the Old Head Classic. Green Bay's a 6.5-point favorite, and the over/under is only 45.5, which I think really says something about one of the teams.
Yeah, it says a lot about Pittsburgh. I think we all know that Pittsburgh is really, really struggling on the offensive end, and now I wrote this pick down before I saw before we were supposed to record this a couple days ago. So Chase Claypool suddenly got hurt in practice as it been ruled out for the game. So I have written here Pittsburgh +6.5, but I no longer believe that. I'm going to take Green Bay -6.5 at home. Pittsburgh's just got too much stuff going on with that offense I think to be able to keep up with Aaron Rodgers. Now we know TJ Watt is back, and when TJ Watt plays, Pittsburgh is always good for a turnover. They're always good to get the ball in the red zone. They're always good to make they'll hold up well enough on defense to be able to keep their offense in the game, which is what I still think happens here. But with no Claypool out there for Pittsburgh on offense, they're already struggling. Juju Smith-Schuster's playing at like 60-70%, we think. The offensive line's already really, really bad. Ben Roethlisberger, who struggles on the road as well. It's too much lining up for Green Bay to just go and take care of business here. Pittsburgh defense will keep them in it, but not long enough to make it a difference. So I'll take Green Bay -6.5, but I'll still take the under as well.
You thought Chase Claypool kept Pittsburgh in the game?
I was only picking Pittsburgh to be within a touchdown. That's all I said. But like that's their best offensive receiving weapon, and he ain't around no more. So
It's a mismatch. It was always going to be a mismatch. It's going to be fun to watch Aaron Rodgers against Pittsburgh's defense. That's what you'll be watching.
Yes.
Because it will be in no contest on the other side watching Ben Roethlisberger play football. So I have Green Bay winning 35-21, and that was with Chase Claypool on the field. And not if he wasn't going to make it out there. I mean, if Pittsburgh gets 21 points, I will even say that's pretty. I'd be surprised even though I'm picking it. But that's the over, so I'll take Green Bay to cover, though, easily, and I'll take the over as well. All right. The game that probably no one ever thought, maybe 3 years ago, that you'd ever witness in your life. But we've got a classic apprentice versus master. We've got Tom Brady and his goatliness and all his championships that he somehow acquired. No shot at him, though. Heading back to New England, where the Patriots are a 7-point underdog at home. Wow, it's been some rough couple past few years for them. I know it's hard to handle, but a high over under a 49.5. So, what are we expecting to see in this game?
I think we'll see a pretty good defensive battle, to be honest with you. I think New England's defense matches up actually pretty good with the Tampa Bay offense. I think they're really, really good at corner. They'll be able to play man coverage across the board, even with Antonio Brown back. I think the loss of Gronk is pretty significant for their ability to be able to attack the lesser part of New England's defense, which is their linebackers and their ability to cover. And Bill Belichick's here, man. Bill Belichick's going to be here with a game plan to make things hard on Tom Brady. Tom Brady says he thinks he knows everything that's coming. Bill's coming with whole new shit, in my opinion. And on the other end, we know Mac Jones and the New England offense has been struggling, but the Bucs defense is really banged up. I don't expect Jason Pierre-Paul to play. We know they're missing a couple of corners in their secondary as well. So all those things mixed in, I'm taking New England +7. I think New England's going to give them they're going to be amped up for this game at home. They're going to give them a real battle. Bill Belichick has definitely emphasized the importance of not losing this football game. They're not the more talented team, so they probably will still lose, but they're going to come out. This is their Super Bowl, in my opinion. This is the biggest game of the year for the New England Patriots. So I'll take the Patriots +7 at home, and I'll take the under. I'm expecting a strong defensive battle between these two teams.
While I would like to put my faith in Bill Belichick, I just don't see any scenario really where I could faithfully and realistically imagine the Patriots winning or even being competitive in this game. Bill, if you prove me wrong, I'll be shockingly happy. But I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 35-17. I think at half we might be looking at a 17-21 game, and everybody's like, New England's doing their things, but that might have been throwing the whole kitchen sink to get as close as they can. I just think Tampa Bay is on another atmosphere.
They are.
Than the New England Patriots. Unless Bill's got something good for the weather machine for us today and the greatest game plan of all time. And I wouldn't put it past him.
If anybody could do that.
I wouldn't put it past him. And Tom Brady might be a little bit jittery. We did see Peyton Manning lose his return to Indianapolis, and he choked away a very big lead. And we saw Brett Favre take the loss when he went back to Green Bay the first time.
Now, in those scenarios, the other teams were showing up with decent football, with better quarterbacks at that point. This is not that situation.
I just don't believe New England has enough on their offense to keep up with Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay has looked a little shaky recently, but I think coming off a loss, especially for Tampa Bay, again, getting a chance to play a lesser opponent who you also have some history with, is just the right place at the right time and the wrong place in the wrong time for the Patriots. I would take, like I said, I'll take Tampa Bay in a blowout. And so moving on to the last game, a good Monday Night Football game.
Great Monday Night Football.
Vegas has been already on their second Monday Night Football game. We've got the really should be LA Raiders headed to LA to play a semi-home game. I mean, it's probably going to be 80-20 in their Raiders fan.
Yeah.
Against Justin Herbert coming off his big win against the Kansas City Chiefs last week, and the Chargers are still a 3-point home favorite, and the over/under is set at 51.5.
And I still think the Chargers are the better team. The Raiders, with the injuries they're dealing with, and this is probably somehow Derek Carr is playing his best football with the worst talent that he's had around him in his entire career, arguably. I think you got to give the Raiders a lot of credit, and their defense has stepped up and played really good ball. Max Crosby has become one of the breakout stars in the NFL with his ability to get after the quarterback. But I just think that Justin Herbert and the Chargers are just a little bit too much. Not a lot. I expect a super exciting divisional battle for the lead in the AFC West between two quarterbacks who are playing at awesome levels. But with the way that I think the Chargers defense is going to force Derek Carr to dump it down and be patient and not be able to attack because they're going to play those two safety high. We expect Josh Jacobs to play, and the Chargers do not defend the run very well, and that would be the Raiders' best chance, I think, to hang in it is by Josh Jacobs just pounding them for 150 total yards. But I think Justin Herbert against the Raiders defense that I don't trust to be able to move the ball at will and make the plays happen in the fourth quarter. If the line was any bigger than this, I think I would probably go with the Raiders to cover, but just a field goal favorite for the Chargers. I think they can handle that at home, even though they're technically going to be on the road at this point. I'll take the Chargers -3, not to the over. I expect a really high scoring affair.
I expect this game to be just as good, but probably better because it's probably two better teams playing than I compare this to the Carolina-Dallas game. I think we're going to get to see two good offenses who are going to be going against good defenses, not maybe super elite defenses. So coaching will be important because you're going to have to scheme your guys open, scheme some plays on defense. But I took the Chargers as well to cover because it's only 3 points. And I just think they have the better quarterback. They have just as many weapons, maybe more, and they have a better offense. They have the better offense, and they have a slightly better defense. It'd be interesting to see how Max Crosby does against Justin Herbert today, getting pressure. If he lines up against the rookie, Rashad Slater, that's going to be interesting matchups to see. Other than that, like, subscribe, and we've got Eric coming up with his picks right now.
Enjoy your football Sunday.
What's going on, everyone? Starting off with my picks for the week 4. Before we get into it, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Picks. Moody's hot right now, but me and Isaiah, we're gonna try to get it back. We're gonna try to get it back. But let's see. We're gonna start with me. Washington football team at Atlanta. Atlanta's +1.5. Over under 47.5. I'm going to take Washington -1.5 against Atlanta. I'm going to hope that defense shows something, and Atlanta is the team to do it against. So I'm going to hope for that. And I'm going to take the the under of 47.5. I think Washington's defense will hold them enough to keep the under. Moving on. Detroit at Chicago. I'm gonna pick Detroit, the cover gods so far this year. A couple heartbreaking losses, but +3 against a Chicago offense I don't trust, and their defense isn't as good as it used to be. So I'm gonna take Detroit. Jared Goff is proving people wrong that he was a Sean McVay quarterback. So he's out to prove people wrong. Let's see. Tennessee at the Jets. Jets are +6. Oh, and the over-under for Detroit is 41.5. I'm going to go under that because both offenses are still going to struggle, but I'll take the points of Detroit. Moving on to Tennessee at the Jets. Jets +6. I don't care that Julio Jones is out. A.J. Brown is out. I don't care. Tennessee -6. I'm probably not going to bet for the Jets unless it's a double-digit plus in their direction. Derrick Henry is going to run all over the Jets. It's not going to be close. Over under 44.5. I'll go under because the Jets aren't even averaging a touchdown this year for their games. Let's keep it moving to Cleveland at Minnesota. It's +2.5 for the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm going to say this is my lock of the week. Man, my locks keep including Minnesota. I've gotten them wrong Week 1, I got them wrong betting with them. Last week, I got it wrong betting for Seattle against Minnesota. But I truly think Cleveland, the better team, has a better defense than Seattle. Much better running game. With the combo of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, 2.5 is just the wrong spread here. I think it should be much higher after seeing what Cleveland's defense did last week. I think this is an easy Cleveland Browns play. I'll go over though. I'll go over the 51.5. That's a big number. You know what? I'll go under. I'll go under the 51.5 for it. Moving on, we're going to go to Indianapolis takes a visit to Miami, -2.5 for Miami. Over under 41.5. I think I'll go Miami. Jacoby Brissett showed me last week that there's not much of a difference between him and Tua. So I'm gonna roll with Miami. 41.5. I'll go under again. That one is hard. That's a low over under, but Indianapolis, no Quentin Nelson. So yeah, Miami and the under. Carolina at Dallas. I see it at 5 right now, but we're going on 4.5. I will take Carolina with the points. I will go over as well. No Christian McCaffrey. Over under 51.5. I think this is going to be a great, one of the best 1:00 games of this weekend. I'm going to take Carolina. I'm going to take my squad. The belief. Now, without Christian McCaffrey, definitely would have made it a more of a pick'em game because I think Christian McCaffrey is worth at least 2 points. That game's going to be exciting. Moody and our team's going up against each other. Our defense, I believe, is better than their defense. This is the best quarterback we have faced so far this year. But I believe in my boys to come out here and respond a little bit. Moving on, we got the New York Giants going to New Orleans, -7. I'm going to take the -7 for New Orleans, and I'm going to take the over 41.5. I think the Giants are going to put up enough points to get this over. Hopefully Saquon breaks one open. We'll see. He's kind of had a slow start to his year, but so have all the Giants player. The whole Giants team has had a slow start. Moving on to Kansas City at Philadelphia. The Eagles are +7 with the over-under 54.5. I am taking that under. There's no way the Eagles score enough. I don't care against Kansas City's bad defense. That under is going to hit, and I'm gonna take the Chiefs -7. I mean, I think this is one of the easier bets of the weekend as well. Yeah, Kansas City -7. Moving on, Houston at Buffalo -17.5. Oy vey. Houston's not a terrible, like clearly not as bad as all of us thought they were gonna be this year. But yeah, Buffalo's been on a mission since after week 1. I mean, they're outscoring their opponents by a ridiculous amount since shutting out Miami and then putting a ass whooping on the Washington football team last week. Screw it. I'll take this. Give me Buffalo and the -17.5. I'm gonna regret taking that. I would not touch this game. Yeah, that spread is almost college level. You usually don't see those type of spreads in the NFL. So I typically stay away from those. Over under 47. Buffalo Bills might hit the over by themselves. So I will take the over as well in that. And here we go with the NFC West games. They're finally going against each other. So they're going to start beating up on each other. Some of these guys are going to fall. We're going to start with the Arizona at Rams. Rams are -4.5, over under 54.5. I'm going to take the under. because both of these defenses are good and have great pass rushes, and one has Jalen Ramsey as well. I'm going to take the Rams -4.5. I think their offense is a little bit has another gear to it with Matthew Stafford's throwing capabilities. I think they'll just be able to shut down Kyler Murray and have that same offense to match Arizona. Going to Seattle at San Francisco. Russell Wilson has never lost 3 straight games to anybody in the NFL. And he's lost 2 straight against San Francisco, I believe. So I'm going to take Seattle and give me the 2.5 points to start. I'll take the over 51.5. If you see the first half points for Seattle and the second half points, they outscore. They're one of the best first half offenses in the league, and then they just sputter in the second half against everybody. But I'll take that over 51.5 and Seattle. Moving on to Baltimore at Denver. Denver's +1 against Baltimore. Give me Baltimore. I think this is Denver's first true test of the year. The other teams they've played hasn't gotten a win yet. They're combined 0-9. So this is their first true test, and I think Baltimore will come out on top of this. I'll give the over as in the 44.5. I think Teddy Bridgewater won't turn over the ball, so they'll sustain drives if they can with that injured Baltimore defense. Moving on to the Pittsburgh at Green Bay. I'm going to take Green Bay -6.5. I don't trust Ben Roethlisberger with TJ Watt out. I don't trust the Pittsburgh defense. Big Ben last week was a shell of himself. I can't believe I took the Steelers last week. And I'll take the over 45.5. I mean, I think Pittsburgh will score. Like, they will score enough, but I think Green Bay will be in control of the entire game. Moving on to the primetime Sunday night football game. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady making his return to New England. Give me the Bucks -7. I think Tom Brady's going to come out here with a vengeance and really own his past team and Bill Belichick and be like, Bill Belichick, you wanted me out while I still had some great years left. And give me the over 49.5. I think Mac Jones will still be able to move the ball. This Tampa Bay defense hasn't been what it was on their Super Bowl run. They only have 3 sacks on the year. That's one, I think, the lowest in the NFL. So give me the over and Tampa Bay. And then the Monday Night Football game, Las Vegas at the Chargers. Give me the Chargers -3. I mean, I think the Raiders are going to take a little step back this week, starting their division play. And you know how they've always been the past 2 years. They've always started out hot, and they've cooled off more and more as the year goes on. So give me the Chargers -3, and give me the over, because I still think the Raiders are going to score like 51.5. I still think each team is going to score at least 20, at least. So that gets you in the ballpark. You just need one other team to go the extra mile. So those are my picks. Very confident in this board, honestly, other than the Buffalo one, which is I wouldn't touch, but that's neither here nor there. So, they're my picks.